This episode of Talkin' About Rock is sponsored by Unleashed Music. Drawing on years of experience, contacts, and partnerships, Unleashed Music is uniquely positioned to platform, develop, and realize the vision of artists of all genres. Achieve your goals by partnering with Unleashed Music and take advantage of their decades of experience to help you create and execute your marketing campaign. Visit unleashedmusic.com for more info.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Talking About Rock. I'm Rob Edwards. Here we bring you rock interviews from veteran and upcoming artists. Subscribe on our YouTube channel to stay up to date and follow us on our social media and our website, talkingaboutrock.com. Today we have for you a band from Detroit, Michigan, Snapcat Bandits. Together since 2023, they've taken the alt-rock world by storm with thousands of plays on all the streaming platforms. Let's welcome Mike Krupinski and Melanie Marshall, the Snapcat Bandits. How's it going, folks?
Robert, how are you, man? Good to be with you.
Great,
nice to
great.
be with you.
Thanks for joining us for sure. So tell us a little bit about putting this duo together here.
Well, let's start back in the tribute days. Melanie and I, we've been playing together for quite a while. And just before the pandemic, around 2018, 2019, Melanie and I were well immersed in the tribute scene here in the Detroit area through a promoter, a good friend of ours. And we played a number of tribute shows over those 2 years, anything from Women in Rock to Nirvana tribute shows, 90s tribute shows, things of that nature. And then when the pandemic hit in early 2020 and everything was shut down, Melanie and I, we decided to just woodshed and we had ideas about what we could do to pass the time, so to speak, during the pandemic. So what we decided to do is we decided to learn about 75 to 100 different cover songs from all genres, all artists, classic rock, updated, and all points in between. So by the time the summer of 21 was done, I think we were just knocking out those covers and jamming and having a great time and expanding our breadth of knowledge, on our instruments. And then towards the end of 21, Mel and I sat down, had a really serious conversation. We said, all this playing that we've been doing, all this jamming and everything, it's a lot of fun. But what do you think if we were to do some originals?
Yeah, what did you think about that, Melanie, when he was talking going originals? Hard to do in this day and age, right? Hard to pivot sometimes.
We've approached that in the past, and so it's not. Mike is always writing songs and stuff. We've just have not approached and never released music. So we decided, well, let's start a new project then. So Mike had some really great songs and he was bringing them to me, and I was I was the one who kind of pushed it because I was like, hey, this music is so freaking good. There's no way we can't put we have to record this stuff.
Right.
So that's when I started looking into doing the recording and everything. And we got some recording equipment and stuff, and we started playing around with that. And I was just so impressed with what he did that, I loved to work with that. And so it was great to be able to put that together on the drums with what he was doing. And a lot of that work was collaborated because I'm the first, I'm the first person to hear these songs. So, I'm like, okay, give me what you have and let's pare down the list, So we pared down the list of what I thought were the really great songs. And those are the ones we worked on together. And that's when we first came out with the first EP.
Our first EP, Robert, we had about 40 songs that we had looked through, and we got it down to about 15 or so. And then after that, we got it down to about 8. We said, okay, let's go forward with these 8. And then after that, we had cut the fat off and said, okay, we got it down to 6. And so these 6 songs that comprised our first EP, we took some time between October of 2022 all the way into April of 2023 mainly recording on weekends when we had time. And so that comprised our first EP. But like Melanie said, hey, let's take it to the next level. What are we going to do? And that's when our producer, Chuck Alkazian, came into the fold.
Right.
And he really dug our stuff and said, hey, I want to work with you guys. And then he proceeded to go ahead and mix and master our first EP. And that's when our relationship really took off with Chuck.
Yeah, and for folks that don't know, Chuck has also produced such artists as Pop Evil, Soundgarden, and Tantric.
Right. That kind of happened by accident because Chuck lives, or, he's in the area. And we wanted to go to a studio to have our stuff mixed and mastered because we recorded it here. And so he got our call, he got Mike's call and took the time. And I think he was expecting to just have some fun with us, meet with us on a Saturday afternoon, pat us on the back and send us on our way. But then he listened to our stuff and he's like, hey, you know what? I'm actually willing to work with you on this. This stuff is really great,
Right.
And so that's how that happened.
Yeah, I mean, actually, you guys must be doing something right here. 140,000 Spotify listeners on there, 250,000 views on YouTube. Amazing stuff.
Yeah, it's been a real whirlwind experience in such a short amount of time. And like I said, we've got Chuck to thank for that, for really enhancing our music and for really helping to bring our vision to the forefront. And like you said, Chuck is a Grammy award-winning producer. I mean, he's worked with, like you said, a number of well-respected artists in the music industry. To have that kind of backup, knowing that when you write songs and when you bring them to the table and you want to have this project furthered, that Chuck is going to be there and he's going to kind of help guide the songs along, kind of guide us along and make sure that our intent is well represented. So we're lucky to be in wonderful hands with Chuck.
Yeah, we had a lot of luck when that all happened.
Yeah. Always good to have that person that can bring your music to the next level, that understands it, and can maybe give you different insights and different ideas to stuff you hadn't thought about before. So let's talk about a little bit about your latest release here. You got Nothing to Prove. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, this song is a bit of an older song. I wrote the song initially, and I had it before the first EP was worked on. And I kind of mulled it over in my head. I said, do we want to include this on the first EP or do we want to wait?
We decided to wait.
And so, because of that, I think we wanted to establish a foundation of our music first and foremost, and then kind of see exactly where that fell on the landscape of rock music. And so this one, when we brought it to Chuck and we were in the studio with him, it was one that he was leaning more towards that, I really like this. I really, really like this. And so when he played it back for us, once this one was mixed and mastered, he cranked it all the way up and said, oh my God, it's like this one, really great vibe, great sound. And so we knew we hit on something. And I think the song as a whole speaks to self-empowerment, about not having to prove anything to anyone about anything in your life. It could, it could amount to anything. And so I think this song has a well-rounded spectrum of a topic that can be discussed on many levels. And I think I think it will resonate with a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely a great track. So we're going to take a quick break and we're going to check out the video and the track for Nothing to Prove. And we'll be right back here on Talking About Rock.
you know, in the end it's all love to yourself. If you wanted to hide for the rest of your life, then I know there's some place you can go. 'Cause you don't have to say what you mean. 'Cause you don't have to say what you mean. There's nothing to hurt someone like you. There's nothing to prove to myself or to you. If we run out of time by the end of the night, there's nothing to prove to myself or to you. Now we can make it go away. We can find some other way. We can turn around whenever we choose. And we don't have to say goodbye, 'cause I can throw away my pride. Oh, turn around, call it a truce. Nothing to prove, someone like you. There's nothing to prove to myself or to you. And if we run out of time by the end of the night, there's nothing to prove to myself or to you. There's nothing to prove to someone like you. There's nothing to prove to myself or to you. And if we run out of time, yeah, by the end of the night, there's nothing to prove to myself or to you. There's nothing to prove, nothing to prove. There's nothing to prove, nothing to prove, yeah, nothing to prove.
Okay, we're back here on Talk About Rock. Just checked out the video and track for Nothing to Prove. Good stuff, guys. Really, really liking that. You know, the stuff Chuck is working on with you here. Just that extra touch. He's definitely got that.
No, thank you very much. It was a fun song to play. It's always a fun song to play, a fun song to record as well, too. You know, when Melanie and I, when we laid down the initial tracks for the song, usually they're all these bare bones, right? We have scratch vocals, we have an acoustic guitar usually, and then we have Melanie's drums. And so when we record it, you know, we make sure that Melanie's drums are down in the way that we want them to sound and everything. And then going back, you know, I record the bass and guitars and eventually the vocals. The one thing that's unique about our songs is that I go in to record the leads and fills for our stuff. I have a blank sheet of paper. So you can imagine this song for, you know, a number of years, you know, like I said, before the first EP was released, didn't have anything on the lead or fill. Okay. This was just a regular acoustic version of the song. So I sit down with a blank sheet of paper when I go to record the leads and fills for the guitars. And usually right on the spot, within that hour that I'm usually in the studio, I'll come up with a lead and a fill for it. So all those leads and fills you hear over the top at the beginning and at the end especially, those were done on the day of in the studio. And I like to think I can work up some magic brew, okay? You know, I have no preconceived notions of what's going on. I just let my fingers do the walking, so to speak, and whatever happens on the guitar, as long as I'm happy with it and I get it done in a couple of passes, I think, you know, I think it works out really well. I'm the kind of guitar player that I don't like to beat a whole riff to death, so to speak, and get tired of playing it. You know, I don't have to do it 40 times. If you can get it done in the first couple of passes, perfect, because what you do is you keep the integrity and you keep it fresh. So it's not, you know, like I said, it's not worn out by the time you're done with it.
Yeah, definitely play into the song and definitely maximizing your time in the studio obviously is always a great thing to do for sure. And I think you guys are now in for some pre-production for the next album. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Melanie and I, beginning, I'd say last summer, what do we have? I think we had about 16 songs or so from the new batch that we're looking at. And before the holidays, as this goes to tape in late January of 25, We pared it down from 16 to 7 songs. And so Mel and I had a really good conversation about what songs that we were going to use going forward, because the two things that we look at when we go in to record a new EP are the following. One, we try not to repeat anything that we've done previously because I think it's old hack. I think if you don't challenge yourself as musicians and you don't challenge your audience as listeners, I don't think that the growth is as big as it could be or as great as it could be. And two, we always try to make sure that everything that we do has integrity and is as genuine and as distinctive as possible. Because one of the things I can't stand is repetitiveness. And I like to always be turning the page and moving forward. And that's something that Mel and we always discuss about how can we keep things fresh moving forward and keep things fun yet distinctive as well for our sound.
Right. Like I said, I'm the first one hearing some of this stuff, and Mike's, might be sitting on the couch playing this and saying, what do you think about this? And he'll go through, a progression of what might become a song. And I'll, either, most of the time I'll say, hey, that's, really good. Let's work on it. And then occasionally I'll say, well, why don't you change this part? The bridge. I said, that bridge is so dang catchy. Why don't you make that the chorus? And
right.
So we start doing stuff like that. And so he bounces it off of me, and that gives him kind of an idea of, what I hear, and before we even get down on it. And I said, why don't you do that before we even go into pre-production? We're, trying to figure out what the song should be, and then, so a lot of times they change the songs that he comes with. They change before they even get down to the studio.
Yeah, there have been so many great rock duo songwriting tandems, obviously going back to the Beatles with John Lennon and Paul McCartney, and then to more modern days with Alex and Edward Van Halen. And then you think of Dave Grohl, Taylor Hawkins. You think of some really good writing duos. And Melanie and I, we try to follow, what's instinctive to us, but yet we always use influences such as those guys to kind of help guide us along and thinking about, how these new songs can be constructed, not only in a catchy way, but also in, like I said, in the most rockness, if that's a word, okay,
Yeah,
to,
right.
to make the songs just as powerful as possible. And I think Mel and I, as we have fun doing it, and I think we want to keep that, because I know a lot of times when you're going in and recording songs, sometimes there can be some stress. You're stressing out over maybe a drum part or a bass line or a vocal line. And so what we try to do is we try to take a step back when we're recording songs and just say, hey, as long as we've got this cool vibe between us and we don't feel like we're stressing each other out, I think usually every time it works out perfectly.
Well, part of it is we're trying to get that vibe that we lay down, the way we lay it down, not like, contrived or whatever, so sometimes, like one time we were trying to lay it down to a click track, and I'm looking at Mike going, man, we just lost the vibe of this song. We gotta lay it down naturally,
Right.
so
you want to have that feeling from that song, right? Because if you're generating that, your audience is feeling that. And obviously,
I mean, if I'm not feeling it, I feel like the audience isn't going to feel it at all.
yeah, definitely.
We try to keep that live vibe when we record, because like Mel said, we had a tendency on the last EP that we did to speed up the click track. We'd start at one particular beats per minute and we'd end like 4 or 5 beats per minute at the end. I mean, that's just how we naturally play with one another. And that's just all the live stuff that we've been doing.
But it's because, a lot of our songs will, we boost the energy almost always near the end of our songs. I mean, It's got to be explosive, so I think if we have a style, that's kind of the style that we.
Yeah, I think a lot of the great artists always think, what would this song sound live? How is it going to sound to a live audience, right? And I think some of the best songwriters are so meticulous about their songs. You mentioned a lot of different duos and stuff like that, but very meticulous, take their time with their music, and always made sure it was on par. And that's exactly what it sounds like you guys are doing with this.
Yeah.
I think, like I said, it's it goes back to playing all those live tribute shows and just grinding it out, Melanie and I, because we developed such a bond together on stage when we play live that I think it's almost like we dig into each other's head and know, what's coming next and what turn we're going to do, the stops and starts. And sometimes we'll give a look at each other on stage and go, yeah, did we do that? Yeah, we did, but we did it in sync. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
we're just always on with each other. It's so
Yeah.
easy to play because we know, without even knowing, we just know where the other guy's going. If you're doing a live show.
Right, definitely. So you mentioning shows. You guys got any shows coming up? Things you're looking at? Projects in the work, things like that.
Yeah, so for 2025, we sat down, I'd say, before the Christmas holidays and kind of, had some ideas about what we'd like to do. We'd like to tour a little bit more regionally in our area and kind of branch out a little bit, and also continue to play in the Detroit area and the surrounding areas, and kind of continue to build that, and keep the momentum going. We've got a couple of shows coming up in March of 25. We've got one's actually a birthday bash. A good friend of ours invited us to play at a club in the area out here, and so yeah, that place is going to be live, and it's going to be on seriously, because this guy, he's got a ton of friends, and so we've like I said, we've been good friends with him for a number of years, and so we've got that coming up in early March, and then mid-March. We've got a show down in Hamtramck in the area down here, right outside Detroit, at a bar called Trixie's. You're going to play with a couple of really good bands. And the thing is when you get hooked up with bands for a show, they're usually like-minded with the same type of energy and performances and the same type of genre, the really good rock music. So I think we're just going to be hitting home runs at that show. That'll come up in mid-March. We've got, like I said, some ideas to play regionally, and playing out of state. And I think we just want to do that to increase our opportunities and bring our music to as many people as possible, especially, like I said, during the live phase of our show, because we love to play live. So.
Yeah, definitely. Sounds like you guys got a great attitude and a great work ethic, stuff coming up, planning on that. Definitely looking forward to the new stuff coming out. Really like what you guys are doing so far. So yeah, best of luck and keep it up with everything that's happening.
Awesome. Thank you.
We appreciate your time. Thank you very much for having us.
Okay, so that brings us to the close of this episode of Talking About Rock. Let's thank our guests here, Mike Krupinski and Melanie Marshall, the Snapcat Bandits. And thank you to our sponsors, Unleashed Music and School of Rock North Buffalo. And to all our folks out there, we hope you are keeping the torch alive and supporting live music wherever you are.